of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Now what makes this quadratic is what? Is this power here. Okay, this power makes what? This equation quadratic. So for this to be quadratic, our a must not be equal to 0. Our a must not be what? Equal to 0, and our bc are numbers, and bc are numbers of the real number. Okay, that means your basic could stand for any number at all. Any number at all in the set of real numbers. Okay, now if a quadratic equation is made up of what? 3 terms like this, we'll call it what? A quadratic trinomial. Now, yes, 1, 2, 3 is called a quadratic trinomial. Now, if it is of just 2, let's say you have either ax squared or ax squared plus bx, or ax squared plus c, both equal to 0, we'll call the what? We'll call the equation quadratic binomial. Quadratic Now, if it is made up of just ax squared, then we'll call it what? A quadratic monomial. Okay. Quadratic trinomial, quadratic binomial, and quadratic monomial. Okay, now we have different methods. We have different methods of solving quadratic equations. Now the first method is the factorization method. The second is method of completing the square. The third, graphical method. And the fourth is the general formula method. So let's start with the method of factorization, because this video is going to cover what? Factorization method, method of completing the square, and the general formula method. Okay, now if you want to solve a quadratic equation of this form, where the coefficient of x squared is 1, now the easiest way to solve it, okay, using method of factorization is like this. Now you open the bracket like this, because whenever you solve a quadratic equation, you are expected to have 2 answers. Okay, I'll call the answers the roots. So you open a box, a bracket, you put x, another bracket, you put x, just like this, equal to 0. Okay, then now look for 2 terms, so that when you add them together, you get these 2 numbers in particular. When you add them together, you get what? This. Okay, when you add them together, you get this, and when you multiply them, you get this. When you add them, you will get this. When you multiply, you will get this. Again, when you add them, you will get this number, the middle term, the equivalent of the middle term, and when you multiply, you will get the last term. Okay, now let's think of these numbers. Okay, now it's obvious the 2 numbers are 3 and 2. Now why 3 and 2? Because 3 plus 2 is equal to 5, and 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Okay, so the 3 numbers are what? 3 and what? 2. Let me explain why it's 3 and 2. If you add 3 to 2, you get 5, which is the middle term. And if you multiply 3 and 2, you get what? 6, which is the last term. Okay? Don't forget, we're also working with the signs too. So what you have here is plus 3 and plus 2. Though the plus is invisible, plus 3 and what? Plus 2. So you're going to put them here. Plus 3 plus what? 2. You can choose to put the 2 here and the 3 here. It does not really matter. Okay. So you have x plus 3 in a bracket, x plus 2 another bracket equal to 0. Now note that if a, b is equal to 0, for example, it implies that either your a is equal to 0 or your b is equal to 0. Either your a is equal to 0 or your b is equal to what? 0. Okay, so if we apply that concept here, now either x plus 3 is equal to 0 or s plus 2 is equal to 0. So if I solve here, as this one crosses the sign of equality, the sign changes to minus what? 3. So I'm going to have x equal to minus 3 here. The same thing happens here. We're going to have x equal to, as it goes over to the other side, the sign changes from plus 2 to minus 2. So therefore, our x is equal to minus 3 or minus 2. Very simple. Very simple. Okay, next example. We are going to apply the same principle we applied last time. Now, the coefficient of x squared is 1. So, that means our solution would be like this. X equal to 0. Okay, now we look forward two numbers such that when we add them together we'll get this minus 5, and when we multiply them we'll get what? Minus 24. Two numbers such that when we add them together we'll get what? Minus 5, and when we subtract, or when we multiply, we'll get what? Minus 24. Now it's obvious that the two numbers that satisfies this condition is minus 8 and 3. Minus 8 and what? 3. You have to think so you get these factors. You have to think. I don't want to waste your time. You have to think so that you get these what? Factors. Now, why are these two numbers satisfying the conditions? Now, minus 8 plus 3 gives us minus 5, which is what we have here. Then minus 8 times 3 gives us minus 24, which is what we have here. Okay, so we are going to put these two numbers into what? The brackets. So anyone can come first. So minus 8 here plus what? 3 here equal to 0. Now this implies now that either your s minus 8 is equal to 0 or s plus 3 is equal to 0. Either your x minus 8 is equal to 0 or this is equal to 0. So from here now, your x will be equal to, as this one crosses the sign of equality, the sign changes, so it becomes plus 8. Or this one, as it crosses, the sign changes, you have x equal to minus 3. That is it. X equal to minus 3. Okay, now the next example, we are asked to solve 2x squared plus 11x plus 15 equal to 0. Now if you observe, the coefficient of x squared is not 1, so that approach will have to be, a new approach will have to be used. 2x squared plus 11x plus 15 equal to 0. Now let's go with this. Now look at the first step. I'm going to multiply this term with this term. 2x squared times 15 gives me 30x squared. Gives me what? 30x what? Squared. Now next, I'm going to look for factors of 30x squared that will give me 11x when I add or subtract. Factors of what? 30x squared that will give me what? 11x. Okay. Now the factors, okay, let me say one more time. The factors of 30x squared that will give us what 11x when we add or subtract would be 5x and 6x. Now why 5x and 6x? It is 5x and 6x because 5x plus 6x is equal to 11x, and 5x times 6x is equal to 30x squared. Are you seeing it now? 5x plus 6x is 11x. 5x times 6x is what? Is 30x squared. 5x plus 6x, 11x. 5x times 6x, 30x squared. So, now in place of this 11x, we are going to put this term. In place of this 11x, we are going to put this word term. Okay, that is it. Sorry, this term. So that we are going to get 2x squared plus, now 11s, 5s plus 6s plus 5x plus 6x plus 15 equal to 0. Okay, now what's the first step? You use this term to multiply this term, you get 30x squared. You look for factors of what? 30x squared that will give you the middle term, which is 11x, when you add them or subtract them. Now, the factors are what? 5x and what? 6x. Why? Because 5x plus 6x is 11x, and 5x times 6x is what? 30x squared. So that is why we are replacing this 11s by this term. Okay, now next we'll group. I'm going to group them. Now if you observe, 2x squared plus 5x, x is common to both terms. X is common to both what? Terms. So I'm going to factor out what? X out. I'm going to factor out x out. Now I'm going to divide this everything here by what? What I factored out. Now 2x squared divided by x, that is 2x squared divided by what? X. So now this means what? 2x times x all over x. So this and this will go. We'll be left with what? 2x. So 2x squared divided by x, you have 2x. Okay, the same thing here now. 5x divided by x, that is what? 5x over what? X. These two will go. You'll be left with 5. So you have plus 5 here. Close your brackets. Now what is common here and here? 6. What is common here and here? 3 is what? Common. Here 6x plus what? 15. Plus 6x plus 15. 3 is what? Common. So I'm going to factor out 3 plus 3. Okay. If I factor out plus 3, now 6x divided by 3. That means 6x divided by what? 3. It is what? This goes here. You have 2x. So you open your bracket, you put what? Your 2x. Now plus 15 divided by 3. The answer is 5. You close the bracket, equal to 0. Okay, let me clean this. Now, if you observe, what you have here is equal to what you have here. Now, whenever you're solving a quadratic equation where the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1, now, whenever you come to this point, you observe if the numbers or if the terms are different, then you go through your process again, because you might be making one or two mistakes with the signs. Okay, so what you have here must be equal to what you have here. Okay, now since this is common to both terms, I can easily factor out these terms. So I'm going to have 2x plus 3, 5. I've factored out this. If I bring out this 2, now, I'll be left with what? S plus 3. If I bring out this 2, I'll be left with s plus what? 3. So I have s plus 3 equal to 0. Okay, so now either your 2x plus 5 is equal to 0, or s plus 3 is equal to 0. Either your 2s plus 5 is equal to 0, or your s plus 3 is equal to 0. Now from here now, you have 2x equal to, this one goes over, the sign changes to minus 5, or you have here x equal to, this one goes, the sign changes to minus 3. Okay, now if 2s is equal to minus 5, then our x will divide both side by 2. Our s will be equal to minus 5 over 2, or our s is equal to minus 3. And that's the answer. Okay, next example. Solve 6x squared plus 9x plus 10 equal to 0. Solve 6x squared plus 9x plus 10 equal to 0. Okay, I'm going to follow the same process. This multiplies by this. 6x squared times 10, you have 60x squared. Now next, you look for factors of what? 60x squared that will give you the middle term when you add or subtract. You're going to look for what? Factors of what? 60x squared that will give you what? This term. Okay? That means the two terms, when you add them together, you will get this. When you multiply, you will get this. When you add together, you will get this. When you multiply, you will get this in its simplest term. Okay. Now let's look at factors. Now if you go through, if you think, okay, now the answer or what will strike your mind is that the factors are 15x and 4x. Now why? Because 15x plus 4x is equal to 19x, and 15x times 4x is equal to 60x squared. Okay, so now in place of 19x, we're going to put this. In place of 19x, we'll put this, the factors. So we're going to get 6x squared plus, anyone can come first, no problem, plus 15x plus 4x plus 10 equal to 0. Okay, now next we'll group. Okay, now what is common here and here? Okay, it's obvious that 3 is common. 3 is common here and here. So I'm going to factor out 3x, look at x. I'm going to factor out 3x. 3x is common. So I'm going to divide now. 6x squared divided by 3x. 6x squared divided by 3x. Now as 3 into 6, I will have 2. X into x, I will have x. So 3x into 6x squared, I'm going to get 2x plus. Please, when I say into, when I say 3x into, I mean 6x squared divided by 3x. Okay, plus. Now 3x into 15, you have 15x over 3x. Now 3 goes into 15, you have 5. X cancels with x, so you have 2s plus 5. Now the next bracket. Now what is common here and here? 2. So you have plus 2 is common, so you bring up plus 2. 2 into 4x, you have 2x. 2 into 10, you have 5 equal to 0. Now, are you seeing it? That the brackets are the same? They are the same. So you can easily factor them out now. You can easily factor the bracket out. So if you factor out 2x plus 5, if you factor it out, you'll be left with 3s plus 2. So you have 3x plus 2 equal to 0. Okay, now this implies now that either your 2x plus 5 is equal to 0 or 3s plus 2 is equal to 0. Either your 2s plus 5 equal to 0 or 3s plus 2 equal to 0. So I'm going to take the constant value to the left hand side, to the other side, the right hand. So I'm going to get 2x equal to plus 5 crosses and change this to minus 5, or I'm going to have 3x equal to plus 2 crosses and change this to minus 2. Now next, I'll divide here by 2, here by 2. So I'm going to have x equal to minus 5 over 2, or I'll divide here by 3, here by 3. I'm going to have x equal to minus 2 over 3. Therefore, x is equal to minus 5 over 2, or s is equal to minus 2